We're live. Hi, everyone. Very happy to introduce Becca Day, who's joining us for an author chat. Do you want to start us off with an intro to you and your books, Becca?
Hi, yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm Becca Day, and I've recently released my second novel. My first one was The Girl Beyond the Gate, and my second one is All Her Little Lies, came out on Wednesday. And All Her Little Lies is a psychological thriller which follows the story of Alex, who works on a farm, and she stumbles upon the body of her best friend's daughter. And for reasons to be revealed, she decides to clean up the crime scene and dispose of all the evidence. And it sort of follows the ramifications from that decision that she makes.
Sounds good. So Sam said she'd send us questions, didn't she? In the meantime, how have you celebrated your publication?
Yeah, so I did a virtual launch on Wednesday, which was really fun. I was joined by Lauren North, who is another author. She mentored me back when I was an aspiring author writing my first book. So that was lovely to have her on with me. And then I was also joined by SV Leonard, who is also represented by my agent. So yeah, it was really nice little fun party. We played some games, we read from the book, and we did some like giveaways and prizes and stuff. So yeah, it was really, really good fun. And then I've got a sort of in-person launch next week as well. So it'll be nice to actually see people in person.
Awesome. Where's the in-person launch at?
It's a pub sort of locally to me, so it's sort of a smaller thing rather than a public thing, but it'll be nice because I'll be seeing my agent again in person, which is always nice rather than just chatting to her over email. So.
There we go. We've got one from Sam. She said you lulled us in with a lovely opening, friends around a fire pit, and then blew the world apart. Was that fun to write?
Yeah, I have a real thing about settings in my books. So I really love to have a vivid setting, and I've always loved farms anyway. And so I just had this vision of like this beautiful farmhouse with the fire pit sitting outside in like crisp autumn weather and sort of seeing the glow lighting up the fields and things like that. And it just being like this really lovely scene. And actually that scene happens at the beginning and then also at the end. So it's kind of like bookends. And then, yeah, everything just going a little bit terrible from there on out, basically. But yeah, setting's quite important to me when I'm choosing where to set my novels.
Are your settings all real locations?
So the Girl Beyond the Gate is a fictional gated community that's sort of loosely based on a gated community in London. And then the All Her Little Lies is actually it's a fictional farm, but it's set in Ledbury, which is somewhere I went on holiday last year, and it was just really beautiful countrysides, windy lanes, and it was just like the perfect setting that I had in mind. And then I just sort of plonked a fictional farm into it.
So when you do you choose to make them up just because of like the events that are happening there?
Yeah, I always feel a little bit weird if it's an actual location and I'm sort of setting murders and things happening there. Although having said that, my third book that I'm currently writing, I'm setting it in Sandbanks, which is a real location on Millionaires Row. So I am actually using a real location for the third book, but for my first two, yeah, it was just it's a little bit easier. It gives you a bit more sort of creative. What's the word? Like you can be a bit more creative with
Yeah,
it.
you
Yeah,
can make like if you've made up the location, no one can argue with you, can they? That wouldn't be
exactly.
or yeah.
Exactly. I feel like for the third one, I am actually going to have to go to Sandbanks just to make sure I've got everything right, because otherwise people will be like, but that's not there.
You're allowed a bit of fictionalization, aren't you? Even if you use a real place, so I think.
Yeah, yeah. People do like to pick things apart though.
Sam's stolen the question that I was going to ask you as well, which is about reading party and how you got involved.
Yeah, so
Um,
we haven't been doing them over the last couple of months because both me and William have been so busy. But basically, I attended a reading party. I think it was Will Dean, The Last Thing to Burn, I think it was. And I just really, really enjoyed being part of it, being a participant. And then I messaged William and I said, "You seem to be doing this on your own. Do you need a hand?" And he said, "Yes, please." And it kind of went from there, and we just we ended up building it up from there. And it's been so fun. I've loved every second of it. Like all the authors I've met. I mean, I'm sure you love talking to all the authors doing what you do, so it's sort of very similar. It's just a really lovely community. I think the book community in general is so friendly and just so lovely.
It always feels like you've lucked out doing like what me and Sam do, because you get to talk to all your favourite authors.
Yeah, it's brilliant, and it's so nice for a debut as well, because I started doing the reading parties before my debut actually came out, so I already had kind of friends in the community, and that was so lovely because just the outpouring of support with these book releases has just been very heartwarming.
You did a reading party for your debut, didn't you?
I did, yes. Yeah, I didn't do one for this one because again, everything's just been so busy. But I did do it for the Girl Beyond the Gate, and that was so cool. Like hearing all the different voices reading my words, it's the weirdest, most wonderful thing.
Yeah, I've only ever been to one, but they are such good fun.
Yeah, really lovely.
Williams for Dead Rich.
Mm.
And it was great. Sam has said that you are quickly becoming one of her favourite authors. Although you are terrific. That is amazing. That's a very high compliment indeed.
Oh, thank you so much. That is a brilliant compliment, and always something that I love to hear. I had someone message me the other day and say, like, when you write a book, I'll just automatically buy it. And I'm like, as an author, that is the best compliment that you can get. So thank you so much.
I call those authors, the ones where you just automatically buy your books. Their books when they come out. I call them "you shut up and take my money" authors.
Yes.
Because you're just going to buy them because it says their name on the book. Who are your ones?
Oh, well, Will Dean is one of them. I just love his style of writing. Who else? I really love Phoebe Morgan's books. And I've also, I don't know if it's so much in the UK Crime Book Club that I've seen it mentioned, but I've seen them mentioned a lot in other reading groups. And Frida McFadden, I've read 3 of her books recently, and they're very quick, easy to digest thrillers. And you can read them in sort of a day, a couple of days, and just sort of pump through them. And so, yeah, she's become a bit of a favourite of mine. Yeah, just because they're so easy to read and they've always got quite a good twist in them, which I enjoy.
You've been asked about your research. Apparently, you do quite specific research, speaking to people who have experiences of injuries, for example.
Yeah, so
you can make it into the book?
Yeah, I always like to include something in my books that's a little bit different rather than just like the typical sort of husband and wife having arguments and killing each other sort of thing. I like to sort of add in a little something different. So with The Girl Beyond the Gate, there was a girl in a wheelchair with cystic fibrosis, and in All Her Little Lies, it focuses on one of the characters, is Daniel, who's got brain damage, and it sort of explores the stigma around people with brain damage, and specifically he has disinhibition, which basically means that he's lost his filter. So where you would normally, if you think something and you think, that's not appropriate for me to say, I'm not going to say it, someone who suffers from disinhibition actually will just come out and say it. So the character of Daniel has that. And I obviously wanted to be very, very sensitive with that. So I actually spoke to someone, I'm not going to name him because I promised that I wouldn't, but I spoke to someone who suffers from disinhibition. He's recovered remarkably well, and he's gone through lots of therapy to get to where he is. But he was amazing. He just chatted to me for like 2 hours, all about his journey, what it was like from the day his accident happened all the way through his recovery. And I just took so many notes, and most of it didn't even make it into the book, but it just meant that everything I was writing was actually accurate. And that's really important to me when I'm exploring something like that. So yeah, hopefully I've done it justice.
We've got some hellos from like Tony Millington, Donna, TG. I'm just seeing who else has said it. Alex and Laura.
Hi. Hi, Alex. Lovely to see you in the comments.
T's asked you how you chose the title of your book.
Oh, I'm not even sure. The titles take me so long to come up with. I usually write the whole book before I come up with a good title. And what I ended up doing for this one, I was just looking at sort of what had come out recently in my genre and just writing down all the trends I could see. And I could see that lies was quite a good trend that's been sort of showing up a lot. Because the thing is with commercial fiction, especially, is you do kind of have to follow those trends and think about a lot of books, like you'll pick it up just because it sounds like a book that you've previously liked. So there's a lot of like The Wife Upstairs and The Wife Next Door and Little White Lies and all of those kind of books. So yeah, it just kind of came from that, and it was one that I couldn't see another book that was actually called All Her Little Lies, and it fit in really well. And again, The Girl Beyond the Gate was following that trend of like the girl next door, the girl upstairs, da 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 da. So yeah, just kind of looking at what's out there at the moment and what people seem to be picking up. It's really hard though. I really struggle.
It's quite. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that they pick their titles that way. That's quite a clever way of doing it.
Yeah, I think that following trends is quite clever when it comes to titles, like just because people do they pick books up because it's that kind of title, and they pick books up because it's that kind of cover. So yeah, as much as you say don't judge a book by a cover, I think people do. So yeah.
I must be really contrary because I literally just pick books up because I've read the back and think they sound good.
Oh, that's really good though. That's how you should do it. That's definitely how you
I
should.
definitely don't do it based by cover or title.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Donna is agreeing with Sam. She said you're one of the best authors she's discovered this year.
Oh, thank you so much, Donna. Oh, it's making me feel happy and happy
This is a
tears.
nice like chat, isn't it? Everyone coming on to say how much they've loved your books.
Oh, thank you so
Um,
much, everyone.
Alex says he loved the opening to your books. It's a dramatic idea. He'd like to see what's going to happen to the characters. Loves your multiple narrative approach. Why do you like to do that?
Yeah, so I've really enjoyed experimenting with multiple narrative. Again, The Girl Beyond the Gate was sort of two people and then like a random third person right at the end. And then this one is told through the perspectives of Alex and also DS Stephanie Warner, who's the police officer investigating the case. And then we've also got the third point of view of the murder victim. So it kind of is also an alternating timeline where you've got the main story going along with Alex and the police officer, and then every now and again you get a chapter sort of flashing back in time to the night of the murder, told through the eyes of the victim. And I just really enjoy using lots of different points of view because it makes it so that you see the story from lots of different angles. So if you just saw it through Alex's point of view, you would see the thread of like her trying to protect her son and, you know, oh, this horrible thing that I did and I need to try and cover it up and all of that. But you wouldn't then see all of the details of what happened on the actual night of the murder. So when you see it through the victim's point of view, you actually see all of the clues coming together in real time. And I really enjoyed that. I thought it worked really well. And then the way that it ends is it all very much comes together, which was quite satisfying to write and hopefully very satisfying to read as well.
Is it quite tricky to sort of change voices though when you're writing those different chapters?
Yeah, it is. And it's something that I do a lot of in editing. So the first draft I write, the characters will all kind of sound a little bit the same. They'll all basically sound like me. And then as I edit, by the time I've reached the end, I'll really know the characters. So the first draft is kind of me getting to know the characters. And then by the time I've written the end, I I will have such a clear idea of who these people are that I can go back and make sure that everything they say is really sounding like them. So most of the voice does happen in editing.
Some said it's really cleverly done. You kept her guessing, and when she suspected anyone, she was thrown by the next thing she learned.
Thank you. I had a list on the wall of like all the characters, And I was like, at some point, I want the reader to think it's every single one of these people. So I tried to make sure that it was like proper murder mystery style, where it's like, first you think it's this person, then you think it's this person, then you think it's this person. So hopefully I achieved that.
Did you kind of map out all your clues and red herrings then before you started?
Yeah, well, I had the first half of the book plotted, and then I sort of pants the second half. But all of the red herrings and stuff get dropped in that first half. So I knew what was going to lead the reader to think each person was guilty right at the beginning, and then it was just sort of fleshing it out from there.
Apparently, that is exactly what happened.
Good. I'm glad it worked.
Summer said she enjoyed the characters, particularly Stephanie. Did you ask people for advice about the police elements?
Oh, thank you. Stephanie's my favourite character in the whole book, so I'm really glad that people seem to be warming to her. I didn't actually ask anyone for advice. Well, not like official. Like I know there's some amazing police officers who actually offer it as a service, and I would love to work with them one day, especially if I continue to do like the police procedural stuff. I basically did most of the stuff with Stephanie just based off of what I already knew about the police, how things worked, TV, things like that. And then I checked all the facts with a friend of mine who is a police officer. He doesn't work on murders, but he knows enough to sort of be able to say, yes, that would happen, no, that wouldn't happen. So I did double check that everything was right. And then my publishers also double checked all the police procedural stuff as well. So there was definitely some checking going on. But yeah, it's not a proper police procedural, and the fact that it doesn't go into a huge amount of detail into how the case is solved. It's more the character of Stephanie is it's about her life. So her chapters, you learn about her daughter, you learn about her divorce, you learn about her as a person. So it's not so much about the actual police work. It's more about her as a character.
Would you be tempted to bring her back as a character in another book?
I would, yeah. It's always been something that I was considering when I first came up with her as a character. I was like, I would really love to do another book where she is a police officer in that book as well. And then it's kind of like a series, but it's a standalone as well. Like you could still read it completely separately to All Her Little Lies. And that is definitely something I would like to do. And I was kind of waiting to see how people responded to her, to see whether that would be something that I would start thinking about more in future, and people do seem to be responding really well to her. So yeah, there may well be another Stephanie Warner at some point.
Cool. Laura has said, which of your characters would you like to go to the pub for a drink with?
Oh, I don't know. I would actually quite like to go to the pub with Daniel, who's the character who's got the brain damage, because I find people who are a little bit different really interesting to talk to, and I feel like the more people you can speak to who are a little bit different, the better a person it makes you. So I would really like to sit down and have a chat with him.
So that good. So you're inviting yourself for some tricky questions by offering a competition, aren't you? Do you want to just remind everyone about that?
Yes, so I'm giving away a signed copy of All Her Little Lies. So I think the method of entry that we came up with was whoever asked the best question in the comments. So keep on asking these amazing questions, and then at the end we'll pick one to win.
So while you're out with your guy with disinhibition, what would be the meal that you would eat? Says Sarah.
I always love a good roast dinner. So I would go to a pub and I would have a good old roast dinner with lots of mint sauce.
Fair enough. Sam says, tell us about your murder mystery theatre troupe. Sounds like it was great fun and fascinating.
Yeah, so that was something I did before I started writing my books. And it was basically where a group of actors would each play a suspect in a murder mystery. And then over the course of a dinner, the guests would question us and interrogate us and try and figure out which of us was the murderer. So that was really fun, and it was good practice for writing these novels because I had to write the scripts, and so I had to come up with the characters and the whodunits and the whydunits and sort of put it all together and slot it all together into something that people would be willing to pay, £50 a ticket for. So I think it was good practice for coming up with these stories.
Sounds like it was. Sam has also asked you, she said, although you fancied the second half, did you know the ending?
I did know the ending, yes. I always know the ending, even if, like, my third one, I'm pantsing it more than I've pantsed any of my other novels, but I still know how it ends. I always have to know the ending before I even start writing. Otherwise, I've got no direction. I don't know where I'm going. So
I think, I mean, that in my head that makes sense. I've never written anything, to be honest, but in my head it makes sense that if you know the ending, it'd be easier to work towards it.
yeah, I have to know where I'm going. It's like I can feel my way through all the roads, but I need to have my destination in sight.
Donna said she kind of wants to ask how old you are, but feels like she'd be depressed by the answer.
I am 27, nearly 28. And I feel much older than that because I have a 6-year-old and a nearly 1-year-old. So
You're still a spring chicken compared to probably most of us who are watching and interviewing. So Sarah has asked, I was interviewing Jim Odie last night, who is absolutely brilliant. Right. And we got into quite a debate about spreadsheets. And
okay.
he keeps all of his sales and page reads and things like that for each book on a spreadsheet to monitor like the trends and things like that. And I know other people use them to plot. So are you a fan of a spreadsheet when you're writing?
It's interesting. I started very much as a spreadsheet person. So the Girl Beyond the Gate, I plotted really intricately on a spreadsheet. I think because it was my first attempt at doing it, and I knew that I wanted to have a very clear plan of what I was doing. And I think I've become more confident in my abilities as I've gone along. And I feel like I don't need that step-by-step plan anymore. I can just sort of trust in my ability to figure it out as I go. And I never stuck to it. With the Girl Beyond the Gate, I had this amazing spreadsheet and I didn't stick to it anyway. So I have not got a spreadsheet at the moment. What I'm doing is I write in Scrivener, and I have like cards for each chapter. Most of them are blank. Some of them are filled in with sort of notes of what each chapter is going to be. And then when I actually come to write the chapter, I will do like bullet points and say, these are the things that are going to happen in this chapter. And then I'll write that chapter and then I'll move on to the next one and do the bullet points. So I kind of plot it as I go, if that makes sense. And that's working really well for me at the moment. I'm enjoying it. And I feel like I've still got a lot of creativity. I'm still coming up with the plot as I'm writing, so it feels a bit more fun. Whereas with the Girl Beyond the Gate, I'd done all the fun stuff and then it was the writing, and it was quite difficult to sort of get through the whole thing. So I think I prefer this method.
So you were saying before that like location is key for you. Where do you get your story ideas from? Is it like, I think you said the farm was somewhere you've been on holiday. Do you see the farm and then think of the story? Do you get the story and then go and look for a location?
Yeah, I mean, it all sort of seems to come together in a bit of a one lump, really. It's strange. The actual idea came to me first. So the scene at the beginning of, or the end of chapter 1, where she discovers the dead body, that was the moment that stuck in my head, and it was the scene that sort of played out movie-like in my head. And then I choose my ideas by basically whichever idea sticks in my head the most, whichever one I can't stop thinking about, that's the one that I end up writing. And so once I had that scene in my head and I couldn't get it out of my head and I knew that was the story I was going with, then I started thinking, well, where am I going to set this? Who is it going to be about? And those details sort of come to me afterwards. So it does tend to be the actual sort of inciting incident that comes to me first, and then I sort of build it from there.
I think it's really interesting to ask people those kind of questions, I think. Where do you get your character names from as well? I'm always intrigued as to how people come up with them.
So character names, I've stolen William Shaw's technique. So what he does is all the random friend requests that you get on Facebook from people that you don't actually know, he writes them all down and then uses them as character names. And so that's what I've started doing as well. I thought that was quite a good technique. So yeah, I got a random friend request from someone called Cynthia, different surname, but I was like, oh, that's quite a good character name. I'll use Cynthia in my next book. And so yeah, that's just how I've been doing it. But it's weird. You once you know the characters, you kind of feel which name is right for them and which name suits them. It's kind of weird how it all comes together.
I think Martin Edwards once said that he uses like football players.
Oh, okay, that's a good one too.
I think so. Everyone has their own way, and I think it's another one where everyone's unique. Sam has said, are any of your characters named after real people? Not real people that are just random friend requests, maybe, but real people that you know.
People. None of them are intentionally named after real people, although I did have a moment. The victim in this book is called Hannah, and it didn't clock at all until I sent this book over to my editor, and I realised Hannah is the name of my editor. And I had to put a little note saying, I'm so sorry, I didn't name the victim after you, I promise. It's just the name stuck in my head. So it wasn't intentionally someone I knew, but yeah, it was quite funny.
Alex has asked who you would have as your favourite killer around the table at another murder mystery dinner.
My favourite killer? Oh, I mean, I don't think I'd want any killer around the table, to be honest.
You want a fictional one?
I suppose if I had to pick anyone, I don't know, that's a really interesting question. I guess I would want to pick the killer in The Girl Beyond the Gate, because I'm not going to ruin it by saying, like, for people who haven't read it, but the killer in that is not as bad as you would think a killer would be, if that makes sense.
That's a good answer without giving away a spoiler, I think.
Yeah.
Sam says she thinks All Her Little Lies would go down really well on Netflix or another streaming service. Have you had any interest in it being like?
I haven't had anyone contact me and say they want it to be Netflix, but if anyone from Netflix is watching, then absolutely. No, I would love to see one of my books on any kind of like TV show streaming service. It'd be amazing to see it sort of come to life. I think every author would love for that to happen. So yeah, hopefully one day. You never know.
Although a while ago I got to interview Ben Aranovich, who does The Rivers of London, and he said he deliberately wrote some of his books to be really hard to film.
Oh really? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Or like really expensive. So if they did make a TV show, they'd be really hard to do.
Oh, that's interesting. I wonder why he wouldn't want it in film. I suppose the danger of it being in film is that if it's not how you envisioned it when you wrote it, then it could end up being a little bit weird.
I think he wrote for TV, so I think he was sort of saying that when he could write his own things, he wanted to make it as like ridiculously, like costly as possible, if that makes sense. So I don't think he thought about it necessarily being adapted. Just
well, my books
away with blowing things up.
Yeah, my books tend to play out like movies in my head. That's kind of my plotting process. Is I will think about it and picture it in my head like it's a movie, and then I'll write down whatever I pictured. So yeah, I feel like I'm writing them for TV, even though I'm not. It kind of feels that way because I am sort of playing it out in my head.
So say someone from Netflix is watching, right, and you get a contract tomorrow, would you write the screenplay yourself?
Well, I don't know. I don't really know what the process is, but I would love to if that was an option. That would be amazing because I used to write scripts. That was what I used to write with the murder mysteries, and I did performing arts at college and everything. So I am very much used to writing scripts. So that would be amazing if I could.
Leslie has asked you one of my favourite questions, which has been, what's your favourite read of the year?
Ooh, favourite read of the year. Oh, that's difficult because I've read lots of really amazing books this year.
You can have more than one. It's fine to have more than one.
I really loved Reputation by Sarah Vaughan. That was a very different read for me because I don't normally gravitate towards like the political thrillers, but I just thought it was incredible. I loved it. And The Ugly Truth by Elsie North, that was a proof that I got at Harrogate. And it's so different, unlike anything I'd ever read, and it was so clever. And it's coming out in audiobook as well, I think, and the audiobook is going to be crazy. If you don't know what The Ugly Truth is, it's basically, it's not really a normal narrative. It's all transcripts of podcast interviews and news reports and things like that, all put together in like a murder mystery. It's so cleverly done.
Oh, that does sound good. I got some proofs from Harrogate, but not that one. You've been asked who you'd like to be the actors in your Netflix adaptation that were kind of willing into existence.
Okay, so acts for All Her Little Lies. I would love to see David Tennant being Jace. He's kind of the person I had pictured. I don't know why, I just had him in my head when I was sort of describing the character. And then I can't think of her name. The woman I had in my mind for Alex was the one who, Emily Blunt. That's it. Emily Blunt was in my head. She's not an English actress, so I don't know if she would ever get cast in that role. But yeah, the sort of her look, that's what I was going for.
Oh, yeah. I think David Tennant's a brilliant actor. He's so good in him. He's really good at playing slightly creepy people as well.
Yeah, he is. He's very good at that. I'm going to see him on the West End at some point in the next few months, I think. And I was like, I might just hang around stage door with a copy of my book and be like, would you like a free copy of my book? And see if he enjoys it and endorses it. That would be fab.
Good choice. Sam said, what's the most recent scene you've written, if you can tell us without spoilers?
Most recent scene. So I am currently writing a scene where a woman has just had her life kind of blown apart. She's the story I'm currently writing is these three women who have lots of secrets that they've managed to keep hidden for 5 years, and then a true crime YouTuber comes along and starts investigating their story and starts like revealing all of their secrets on YouTube, basically. And yeah, the scene I've just written, basically the first secret has just come out, and it's kind of ripped this woman's life apart. So it's quite a intense scene, but it's good fun.
And then while we're on the writing scenes, have you ever acted out one as you've written it?
I have not, no. No, I've thought about it, but I've never actually acted it out. But I would love to sort of do like a stage adaptation of one of my books one day. That would be quite fun. I've got lots of actor friends, so I'm sure we could put on a stage production.
I think there's like definitely an appetite for that, isn't there? There's a Peter James book that got adapted for the stage.
Yeah, it could work really well. I'm not sure The Girl Beyond the Gate would work, but All Her Little Lies would probably work.
Sam has asked if you visited crime fiction festivals before your debut was published. She wondered if it felt different being there as a reader versus a writer.
No, I really wanted to go to Harrogate beforehand because I saw everyone posting about it and I have massive FOMO. But no, I didn't actually end up going because I just felt like I needed to have my book published. Like at that point, I was an aspiring author. And it was so silly because everyone is welcome and it is one of the most welcoming festivals. And I'm sure other festivals are exactly the same. I've not been to any others yet. But yeah, it was like that thing of like, oh, I don't feel like I should go yet. So I did wait until I was published, but I shouldn't have. That's silly.
I have only been to Harrogate, but I know what you mean about the missing out.
Yeah.
Because when everyone was at Capital Crime, it was like you could see everyone posting pictures and they were having fun, and you were like, I'm sat at work.
Yeah, I really wanted to go to Capital Crime. It's so difficult for me because I've got the young children, so it's like it's much harder for me to sort of leave and go to these places. So that's why digital events like this are great for me.
Sam has also said Emily Blunt and her husband John Krasinski could play Alex and Jace.
Yes, yes, her husband would work really well, and he could produce it as well.
Is he a producer?
Yeah, or a director, one or the other. Yeah, because he did the silent movies. I can't think what they're called now. The horror movies. He like directed them and also starred in them. So, yeah.
Oh no, I know the ones you're talking about. Can't think of the name. I hate horror films.
Yeah.
They really scare me. Can't just don't watch any of them.
Yeah, I can't watch a lot of them. I'll stomach a few of them, but I'm not one for gore.
I have a best friend who loves them as well, and so his idea of like giving you a present is to give you a random horror movie.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like, I don't like horror films. um, Sarah said, "Will you be going next year to Harrogate?"
Yes, I hope so. I hope so. I haven't booked my tickets or anything yet, but yeah, I loved it last year or this year. So yeah, I would love to go again next year.
I only went for the day this year, but it was good fun.
Yeah, I did. I went up on the Friday afternoon and then stayed over to the Saturday. So I kind of did Friday evening and then Saturday morning. So that worked really well. Friday evening in the tent was great because so many people were there.
Yeah, and everyone, I would imagine once everyone's had a few drinks as well, it gets more fun.
Yeah, everyone had loosened up and yeah. Although I did feel like I had to catch up by the time I got there.
That's not really a hardship, though.
No, no, it was great. I would love to go again.
We've been asked if either of us have watched anything good on Netflix or anywhere else lately.
Well, so the most recent thing I watched on Netflix was The Watcher, which I really enjoyed, and then got to the end and sort of threw the remote across the room because I was so angry about the ending. But I did find out that afterwards that it's a true story, so I suppose they couldn't really change the ending. But yeah, I got very frustrated with that. Have you seen it? It's one of those people keep asking me if it's worth watching or not. I'm like, well, I enjoyed it, but then the last episode I just got so angry because it's not solved. So yeah.
I'm on a bit of a documentary kick, so I've just really enjoyed Dope Sick.
Oh yeah. I haven't seen it, but I
Disney,
want to.
but it was really good. And then apart from that, I'm rewatching the IT Crowd.
Yes, yeah, that's good fun.
So just nice relaxing time.
Yeah.
I was saying it'd be nice to see you at Harrogate next year.
Oh, thank you. Do come say hello if you see me. I love chatting to people who who recognise me because I felt so awkward last time. I was like, I don't think anyone's going to know who I am.
You'd be surprised though, actually. I
Yeah.
think they're like in the crime community. I'd imagine as well, it because you've done the reading party. Like a lot of people who go to things like that would know who you were.
Yeah, that's the nice thing is people know me as a host from the reading parties, and I'm like, oh, I write books as well.
But yeah, it's just a mix of both because people will know your name
Yeah,
and
yeah.
from that.
No,
Um,
it was nice, and actually, I even if I sort of people didn't know who I was, if I said the girl beyond the gate, they then realised who I was. So it's nice to know that actually my book was getting out there enough for people to know who I was. So yeah, it's all weird though. It's very strange, like having people know you who don't actually know you. But yeah, I suppose you'll get used to it eventually.
have you been asked to be on a panel at any crime festival yet?
Not well. I have been asked to be on a crime panel, but it's not been announced yet, so I don't think I'm allowed to say anything about it. But yeah, hopefully early next year, I think it is. I'm going to be on a panel, which will be really exciting because that will be my first one. But yeah, like I said, it hasn't been announced yet, so keep your eyes out for details.
We will. I think it was. I was watching the panels at Harrogate this year, and I was like in awe of how people were getting up and doing them.
Yeah,
Because it's so easy to do it on things like this, isn't it? Because you're just looking at the other person and having a conversation, so you're not thinking about the people watching.
yeah.
As bad as that sounds, sorry, we are thinking about you. We do like you, but you're not like aware that they're watching you. And then I was at Harrogate and I was watching all these people coming out in like a tent of like hundreds, going like, I don't know that I could do that.
Yeah, I mean, because I did performing arts at college, I'm sort of used to standing up in front of a crowd. And again, with the murder mysteries as well, we'd have sort of 50 to 100 people in the audiences for that. So I am used to it. So that's probably going to work in my favour for things like that.
So that potentially does. I'm a teacher, but I hate standing up in front of a big crowd. So I was
Yeah.
watching Harrogate going,
Yeah.
too many people. Apparently Sam's just watched The Five, whatever that is, or rewatched The Five.
Never even heard of it.
Never heard of it. You might have to give us more details, Sam.
Yeah.
One of my favourite author chat questions that I'm going to ask because I'm here and not Sam is would you make a graphic novel of one of your books?
Oh, I would love to. I love graphic novels, and my daughters just started getting into reading some of them as well. So that's really nice to see her doing that. But yeah, I would love to. I think I don't know. I don't know if I've read any sort of thriller graphic novels. I don't know if you have. But yeah, that would be really cool to do something like that. I can't draw very well though, so I would have to get someone in to do all the drawings.
What's your favourite graphic novel then?
Well, we've been doing the DC Girls graphic novels, which have been really fun to read together because it's kind of like the sort of female empowerment stuff. It's nice to see her sort of being like, I want to be like Supergirl instead of I want to be like Princess Unicorn. So yeah, no, it's been really nice to sort of get into those kind of books. What about you? What sort of graphic novels do you read?
I love vintage era Wonder Woman.
Nice.
Quite enjoying She-Hulk at the moment, and then really weird indie things and manga and stuff like that.
Yeah,
The
I haven't
person
read
goes
much.
to like a Comic Con and buys the one that someone's printed at home and
Yeah.
things.
Yeah. No, yeah, it would be really cool to do that. But yeah, I don't know if there are I don't know what kind of an audience there is for sort of thriller crime graphic novels, but I'd love to do like some kind of superhero book at some point. Like I used to write sci-fi and I love Marvel. So yeah, I'd love to do something like that, maybe under a pen name.
I think there's a crossover. There is a lot of like if you think about Hellblazer, the comic series, a lot of great crime authors have written for that.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Yes. I've got a graphic novel panel on at Spookfest on Sunday. And
Okay.
with people like Anthony Johnston coming in, he writes kind of spy thrillers and he wrote Atomic Blonde.
Yeah, spy thrillers would work really well, actually. That's a good point. Yeah, like a James Bond kind of thing.
You've been asked who your favourite author is.
Oh, that's such a terrible question.
I don't think that's possible to answer, Sarah. I don't think anyone who reads a lot can answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I say, there's those authors who I do gravitate towards. So like I'll always read a Will Dean book. Phoebe Morgan, David Fennell, Lauren North. Who else? Who else? Who else? Claire McIntosh. I love. Yeah, there's so many. T.M. Logan, William Shaw. I can't pick.
Do you ever have like an epic fangirl moment? You know, when you're going to do something like a reading party or something like that, where you're like, you're going to interview someone and they're like the books you love and you just can't be calm about it. But you
Yeah,
have a bit of a run around and be like, oh my God.
yeah. I've definitely fangirled over Will Dean. Not gonna lie. I obviously did the first reading party and I was a guest there, and then we did another reading party for him where I was the host, and that was the first time I was like properly talking to him, and I fangirled a little bit, and then I met him at Harrogate and I properly fangirled. So
I feel that way about Sigmore. She writes the Essex Witch Museum series. Absolutely love them. And the first time I interviewed her for the group, I just ran around the house for a bit and I was like, I'm like so excited.
I would love for someone to be like that with me one day and be like, oh, it's Becca.
It will happen. Sam will do it. You know, one of her favourite authors. Next time I mean, she doesn't jump very high. She's not very tall. But she will. Next time she sees you, you'll get a fangirl moment from Sam.
That will go down in my list of best moments when someone does that.
She said she literally jumped up and down when she saw William across the bar in London.
Oh, William Shaw.
Yeah. Sam's a huge fan. The Birdwatcher is one of her favourite books of all time.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because me and William are really good friends now because of having done the reading party. So I kind of always forget what a huge fan base he actually has. And then when we go to events and people are just like swooning and being like, "Oh my goodness, it's William Shaw," and I'm like, "Oh my goodness," because I just think of him as my mate now.
He's a really nice guy, isn't he, as well? And he's so supportive of other authors. I think that's probably why, like, he has such a big fan base.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that goes for a lot of authors. If it's someone who you know is really, really supportive of other people's, really trying to build up other people's careers, then it comes across and you can just tell that people love them for that reason, not just for their books. So yeah, I always try and sort of help out other people where I can. I do like query critiques for people who are trying to get agents and things like that. So I'm hoping to sort of give back as well as writing my books.
She said she'll try not to scare you when she squeals.
Oh, I can't wait to meet you, Sam. I feel like we know each other so well already, and we've never actually properly met. So
She's a gem. While you were talking about the things that would hit your kind of top moments as an author, what are your most memorable moments as an author?
well, my most memorable so far, the top one will definitely be when I got the call from my agent to say she wanted to represent me, because querying was such a horrible time for me, like trying to get representation. I had a really tough time mentally, like I really struggled mentally during that period. So when I finally got an email through from her saying, "Can I have a phone call?" And she said, "Can I have a phone call in 20 minutes?" So I had 20 minutes to sort of sit there and panic about what she was calling me about and thinking like, is she going to call me to offer representation, or is this just like something else? So yeah, when I actually did get on the phone with her and she said that she wanted to offer representation, that was just the most amazing moment. So I think that probably goes down as my sort of number one. And then yeah, I guess the other moment was listening to the audiobook for the first time. That was a really special moment, and seeing the book cover.
It must, yeah, that must be really special hearing it sort of spoken out loud. I was just looking, sorry, I wasn't ignoring you. Tony Millington said he had a major fangirl moment with Ellie Griffiths at Harrogate. And when I was there, she signed my Justice Jones book and she did it with a really nice signature. And I was trying to see if I could find it to show him. She gave
Oh.
me like the coolest teacher she knew or something like that in it. And I was like, it's the best.
Yeah, it's always great when you can meet your sort of favourite authors. Such a brilliant moment.
It's just, I think it's any kind of physical event is just really nice because you can actually meet people properly. So even if you feel like you know them really well, when you meet them in person, it's really different.
Yeah, that's why I loved Harrogate so much, because there were so many people I had spoken to a lot online but never actually properly met. So it's always nice to actually meet them in person.
Um. Oh, Sarah said she shook hands with Ian Rankin when she met him.
Mm, wow.
Exciting. And Sam has said thanks for a brilliant hour. She's enjoyed watching, and thank you both for being great with the sudden change of plan.
Oh, no worries at all.
I think we are coming up to the end of our time. Do you want to remind us, because we got a bit diverted from your books, give us a quick reminder about the books and where people can get them and all of those kind of things.
So the books are here. So The Girl Beyond the Gate is a story about a woman who moves into a gated community and she starts to suspect there's something going on untoward with her neighbours. And then All Her Little Lies is set on a farm and it follows Alex, who discovers a dead body and decides to clean up the crime scene and dispose of all the evidence. And both of them are available in ebook, audiobook, and paperback on Amazon. So yes, I would love for you to read them and let me know what you think. And I'll be sending out a signed copy of this one, once the live is over.
Yes, for the best question asked. So you've got a couple of minutes. You can still post them, and we can look at them after as well, and then we'll decide and put a post in the group about who's won.
Yeah.
And then all that's left for us to say is thanks for joining.
Thank you so much. I've had a lot of fun, and yeah, I hope to meet some of you in person one day. That would be great.